An application programming interface, also known by its street name as API, is an intermediary that allows two programs to communicate with each other. Now, the term API is a broad term that is used for any kind of communication between programs, but we're talking about a specific kind of API known as representational state transfer, or by its street name as REST, which is an architectural style designed to guide the development of the World Wide Web. Now, when you hear the term REST, think stateless, meaning it carries no information that could change over time depending on the request that it receives. It, by definition, has no state. Instead, you're dealing with representations of the data that you may have received from a client or from the database, and the state has been transferred from the server to the client. So how the REST API would work is, for example, if a client was using a social media app and wants to post something, then in that case they would send out a request to post it. And the request would be broken up into three different parts, the first being the request line. Now, the request line will contain information such as the protocol that is being used, and in this case it is HTTP. It would also contain the route that you want to connect to so that you can send your post to the right place, and the HTTP method that is being used, and in this case it is post. Now, there are plenty of HTTP methods out there, and it's just a way of telling the REST API what is the action you want to take. Some of the most common ones would be get, post, patch, and delete. Post means you want to create something, get means read, and delete from its name means delete. And you may have noticed that together they make the CRUD operations. Now, there are plenty of less popular HTTP methods out there, so link in the description below if you're interested in checking them out. Now, on the next line we have the request headers, and that just contains metadata about the request that we are sending. And the metadata will be in key value pairs, and it could be as many as you need. In this case we have tree. Accept means we want to accept in JSON format. Connection means we want to keep this connection alive for further requests, and authorization means we are authorized to make this request. Then we have the body of the request, and that contains the data that we want to send from the client to the REST API. Then once the server receives this request, it will go ahead and post it inside of the database and then send back a response, and the response will be structured similarly to the request, with the first line being the status line, and that will contain the status code on it, and in this case it is 201, meaning something has been created. You may have seen other status codes before, like 404 means page not found. There are plenty of different status codes out there. Status codes in the 100s are information responses. Status codes in the 200s means the request has been successful. 300s are redirection messages. 400s means there's a problem with the client or the request, as in 404 might mean this page does not exist. And status codes in the 500s means there is a problem with the server. Now, underneath the status line we have the response headers, and this could contain things like the date of the response, type of server that is being used, content type, and that is the type of content that is inside of the body of the response, and that type of content is JSON. And the body would contain whatever JSON that the REST API was programmed to respond with. Now, if the client required more information, all they have to do is just send out another request. And this is what makes each request independent. You don't need to know anything about the previous request to deal with the current requests. Now, stay tuned because we're going to code all the topics we've discussed in this video in further depth. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.